knowing Wiki and understanding Wiki, you will agree with me that Wiki is not somebody who will call for truce, because he always likes to fight. Now, for him to call for a truce is because he is also aware that they have no legitimacy and no authority.
They have no leg to stand on.
No, they have no leg to stand on. We believe that this Court of Appeal was not fair, it was unjust. We felt perhaps because Wiki has familiarity with the president of the Court of Appeal by appointing her as chairman of golf club, IBB golf club, and so forth. Now, the three instruments that are supposed to strengthen democracy have now been called Temple of Concurrence, which is the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. Each one concurs with the other. So we don't have democracy. The judiciary will not tamper with the interests of the executive, which was not the case before. Obasanjo and Atiku. Obasanjo was president, and Atiku was his vice president. They have gone to court about 9 times. And in those 9 times, Atiku has defeated the president. It cannot happen this time.
I guess there's Alhaji Sani Umar. Now, with the Wiki-led faction of the PDP claiming control of the NWC. So as we speak here, Alhaji, tell us, be upfront with Nigerians, who is the chairman of the PDP as we speak?
Well, I have to be as honest as possible, because we are speaking to our citizens, and we are speaking to our supporters across the country who are very apprehensive of the situation that is gradually unfolding. Yeah. You see, when Nyesom Wike speaks, he speaks always on his own side. He does not look at issues dispassionately. He is hoping on so many other things, to place his own side as being the most authentic. The fact that the court did not return us back to status quo ante, it didn't say they were the authentic ones. The Court of Appeal said we did not comply with the Omotosho order of resolving the issues and then going ahead to write letter to INEC to seek for convention. And the court advised that we should go back to status quo. So if we are going back to status quo, how does his own side, which is contracted, because all these people he has gathered, and he calls them BOT, he calls them NEC, are not members of NEC and they are not members of BOT. He just assembled some people and then gave them titles. Secondly, the court clearly said that they have affirmed the suspension of Anyanwu, of Umar Bature, of Ajibade, and Okechukwu, 4 of them. If the court says they have affirmed the suspension, you cannot introduce your own explanation as to what affirmation in the court's interpretation means. You cannot say because the court has affirmed. After all, it is only 30 days suspension. So the 30 days has already lapsed. No, that is not how the court operates. When the court says we have affirmed the suspension, it means as at that time, all actions taken by Anyanwu, all actions taken by Ajibade, all actions taken by Umar Bature, and all actions taken by Okechukwu are null and void and of no effect. Now, immediately after our convention, they went ahead to form their own national working committee. And one of the people that they used to form the national working committee is Abdurrahman Mohammed, who was a zonal chairman in the whole configuration. He removed himself as zonal chairman and made himself national chairman. Now, there are processes within our constitution. You cannot just metamorphose into national chairman just at once. There are various mechanisms you have to follow to become a national chairman. And so, because there is a conflict, Wiki people now decided to upgrade you to become national chairman, ignoring the fact that there is a national chairman already in existence, which was as a result of the convention in Ibadan. Even if the convention is not recognized, you cannot make yourself or impose yourself on the party as a national chairman. And this is the point that we are talking about. Now, if at the time they had no powers to do what they were doing at then, how then were they able to form caretaker committee and make themselves leaders of the caretaker committee?
Okay, Alhaji Umar, I like your opening remarks, but let's delve right into the state of play of the PDP right now.
Yes.
Because one of the major outcomes of the Court of Appeal decision is that it has dissolved the Turaki-led NWC, because the convention that was purported to have produced Turaki and his NWC, the Court of Appeal has quashed that convention as being illegal. So, what is the implication of this decision on the PDP as we speak here? The Court of Appeal decision that nullified that convention on the one hand, that also suspended all these other people, Umar Bature, Samuel Anyanwu, and all of these people. So what is the state of play? What's the situation with the PDP?
Let me put it clearly. The Court of Appeal did not nullify the convention. What the Court of Appeal did was to revert back to status quo ante, to say that the lower court had ordered that certain things must be done, and we didn't do it. And so we ought to go back and do it.
It's the same thing.
No, there's a difference. When you nullify something, it means you have found something wrong with the convention itself. That is why, but that decision was before the convention. So that is not a nullification of the convention. It is a decision saying, revert back and do the needful.
You cannot put something on nothing, can you?
Yeah, well, I'm not saying, I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not saying...
No, but we're educated people. So yes. The Court of Appeal said, you were meant to have done these processes, you didn't do them. Yes. Whatever you did after that is a nullity. Simple.
Well, that is what the Court of Appeal said. Yeah. But what I'm telling you is that they did not, there is a difference between nullification.
Okay.
You nullify something that had already taken place, and something was found not to be in order of that thing, then you nullify it. But this one just returns us back to status quo ante. So let us not delve too much into the argument as to what, but the state of the issue now is that both sides have no leadership by the Court of Appeal judgment. No matter the language they want to use to justify their argument, it is not justifiable. If we continue, both sides will just be walking into the abyss. So, knowing Wiki and understanding Wiki, you will agree with me that Wiki is not somebody who will call for truce, because he always likes to fight. Now, for him to call for a truce is because he is also aware that they have no legitimacy and no authority.
They have no leg to stand on.
No, they have no leg to stand on. Just as we don't have any leg to stand on.
Sorry, Alhaji. So the PDP as we speak today has no leadership.
They had no leadership.
So that also means it's not a party.
It is a party because we have the Board of Trustees, which is recognized.
Okay.
We have the NEC, which is recognized. Okay. So we have leadership. But the leadership of what we lack is the leadership of the NWC.
Yes, you don't have an NWC.
We don't have an NWC. But there are leadership of
which
the party.
Which is the organ that administers the party on a day-to-day
basis. Okay. On behalf of NEC.
Okay.
Yeah. But NEC is still there.
Okay.
Now, as we don't have NWC, They don't have NWC. That is why the BOT decided to hold a meeting, because they are the conscience
of the party
and custodian of the party. If the party delves into any problem.
Sorry to interrupt. So, it is the BOT now that is taking charge now?
Yes, that is why BOT held their meeting,
okay,
and took certain key decisions. Because once certain organs of the party are not functional,
yes,
then things revert back to the BOT.
Yes.
Now, BOT has now taken steps to try to resolve this issue.
Okay.
And what did they do? The Court of Appeal, there were 2 appeals. The Court of Appeal in Abuja Division, which has already delivered its judgment. But there is also another appeal which we filed against the Justice Agoma judgment in the Ibadan Federal High Court. Now, when it went to the land justices of the Court of Appeal, they said, PDP, you are a family. We courts have no power to interfere in your internal affairs. And this, to us, is an internal affairs. Go and resolve your problems and come back and give it to us. Then we will now file it as consent, which is what necessitated this current move.
By the BOT?
By the BOT. Now, there was a call, don't forget, by Wiki.
Yes.
Saying we should forget about going to Supreme Court. Why will Wiki be saying we should forget about going to Supreme Court? Mm-hmm. It is because he knows the implication. But again, knowing Wiki's bragado, he likes to show off, to tell the world that he is a superhuman being.
That he has won.
That he has won. He is always, his slogan is, I will win them. So he likes to win them. But this is a win-win situation for all because what we considered, we do not accept the judgment of the Court of Appeal in Abuja here, because the Court of Appeal erred in so many areas of their judgment. I can give you some if it will not be prolonging our discussion. But if you don't want, I can just go ahead and tell you why we stopped going to the Supreme Court. It is one of our first options. We had 3 options. The first option was for us to go to the Supreme Court. The second option was for us, since our NEC is the legally recognized NEC by INEC, we collect signatures, because our constitution says 2/3 of members can collect signature and hold a NEC meeting. If we collect signatures of 2/3 of members, we will now call for a NEC meeting, and in that NEC meeting, we will take a decision to form a caretaker committee, which will exclude the Wiki faction. And the third one was to embrace our brothers, based on the appeal court judgment of Ibadan, and say, okay, let us come together. Let us see how, in the interest of other members of the party, who would like to use the platform of the party to contest, because time is of the essence. If we don't, political activities will start on the 23rd of April, primaries, and terminate, on 30th of May. Now, if we go to the Supreme Court, how early will the Supreme Court be able to give judgment, and for us to now follow the judgment? So we also we had to look backwards and say, okay, we have to consider our party and consider our party members. And in doing so, that's why we agreed. Now, what Wiki is saying, which you quoted, is a strategy of saying, now we are the ones now that have been recognized.
Yes.
So, when it comes to the negotiation, we will take the larger part. That is, but his own side can't do anything other than what we are doing. Now, they don't have, in fact, they have not done anything to progress the interests of the party. So far now, we are doing the e-registration, which is a prerequisite and a requirement. They don't have anybody to do e-registration for them. We are the ones doing it, because we are the legitimate party members, and we felt the Court of Appeal, interfered in internal party matters. What the Supreme Court rightly captured is that the court can go into party matters when it involves primaries leading to general election. That is where the court can come in, not in the leadership circle of. So we are aware that if we go to the Supreme Court, the Supreme Court will give that interpretation. And Wiki is also aware that if we go, that is the interpretation. We believe that this Court of Appeal was not fair, it was unjust. We felt, perhaps because Wiki has familiarity with the president of the Court of Appeal by appointing her as a chairman of golf club, IBB golf club, and so forth. Maybe that was
that's a very, that can be subject to scandal, to a scandalous, comment.
No, but I'm not saying anything that is outside.
Yes, appointing somebody as chairman of a golf club does not interpret.
No. If former justices of Nigeria don't accept those type of things, I can tell you so many.
Let alone a sitting.
Yes, a sitting one. Let me tell you this. During our time in the villa, just to break fast, we invited, during Aloma Mukhtar, we invited justices to come and break fast with us. They didn't tell us that they are not coming. But just during the time of the breaking of fast, not a single judge showed up. The only person that showed up was Aide Umar. And because of the code of conduct. And it is because his office is under the SGF office. So justices severally have said, Justice Erikife, Justice, all the land judges, Oputa and the rest, they have cautioned against civil litigants and the relationship. Now, if you give somebody chairman of golf club, you have built a relationship. You can imagine Justice John Soho, who went to Wiki's office. The video was viral. He went to Wiki, lobbying for accommodation and lobbying for. Now, these are the things that will now compromise the decision of the Chief Judge of the Federal Court. That's why, at some point, we wrote a letter to him to say there are judges of particular concern.
Brilliant. Now, the BOT decision representing the spirit, the heart, the will of the PDP, generality of PDP members, not to pursue these grounds of appeal at the Supreme Court. Does this say anything about the perception that they may not get judgment swiftly at the Supreme Court? Is that the reason why they are not going to the Supreme Court?
No, there is a communique which has been issued by the BOT.
Okay.
It was an expanded meeting of the BOT. In that communiques don't normally carry sentiments. They carry the decisions taken. Now, sentiments, by that I mean those things that you will say, believing that this is whether you are going to get justice or you are not going to get justice, or timeousness of your your appeal, and so forth and so on. We know that the Supreme Court, as an apex court, is a policy court. And as a policy court, the Supreme Court can take quick decisions without necessarily, calling us to say, okay, come and listen to what we are saying. They can take a decision and say, we will inform you for the grounds of our decision later. So all these things are possibilities that the Supreme Court can do. But if we take that route, from now to the period, we don't know when the Supreme Court will even list it, and then appoint judges, 5 justices that will listen to it.
Hear arguments and then give a verdict.
Yes. So these were some of the things that informed our
Now, if you juxtapose this jurisdiction, Nigeria, with, say, America, in the 2020 presidential elections, that Donald Trump filed over 52 cases, some of them terminating at the Supreme Court. Both the trial courts, the appellate courts, and Supreme Court, they heard these cases in a day and gave verdicts. 70-80% of them, the verdicts were given same day. The Supreme Court gave its final verdict in less than a month. Being conscious of society's interest in the matter, Now, you would expect the Supreme Court of Nigeria to also have the same mindset that this is a matter of national public interest that impinge on the democratic culture. So, if we're now saying we're not sure if the Supreme Court would even list this, in all this period, appoint judges and all of that, and there's a reference, the PDP BOT can give a reference, to the Rivers case situation where President Tinubu suspended the governor, and the 11 governors of PDP filed a case. That matter was not heard until this suspension was terminated and all of that. Now, what does this speak to the perception of Nigerians about our judicial, system?
Well, our judicial system and judicial integrity is at its lowest ebb. I will not say that the Nigerian judiciary is totally useless. I will not say that, because we have had some very good justices who have been delivering judgments in real time.
Yep.
And we have also had justices who have been not only in real time, they have also been delivering judgments that are seen to be a true reflection of the situation at that time. Now, the Nigerian judiciary is underestimating and disrespecting the intellect of Nigerians. We may not be justices, we may not be lawyers, all of us, but we know when a right is right and when wrong is wrong. And we know when they deliver judgment, no matter how they try to justify it with their arguments, we know that those arguments are faulty, and they do not stand on a sound ground. It is a legal principle that says, in certain instances, when a reasonable man says, yes, this thing is correct, then it means justice has been given. Now, we have reasonable people who will always disagree. Not because as Nigerians we always disagree, but we know when good judgments come. They don't have to be for or against.
Of course.
They can be against or they can be for, but we know when judgments are correct and when judgments are not correct. And so, comparing us with the American system of jurisprudence, I don't think it's even something to all. An ordinary in America, inside a court, they have stenographers. The justices don't take your statements by mouth. You are talking and they are writing. No. A judge sits down
and
listens. And the stenographer is there taking the notes. And if there is any contention, they ask the stenographer, read social area for the court to hear.
Yes.
Now, that's the difference. The technology being used, and so forth and so on. Here, no technology, nothing.
Let me also take you back. You mentioned some judges who have been fingered in, misconduct.
Which that we said they are judges of particular concern.
Exactly. But there is a particular one, Justice Soho, even if I'm not mistaken,
yes,
who I read over the weekend in a newspaper that the wife was traveling to somewhere in Benue State and was caught with $160,000 US.
Yes.
How did Nigerian judiciary fall to this low level where judges are openly being found wanted in unethical, behavior? How did we get to this level?
At the moment, it is being investigated by the Code of Conduct. Apart from that yes, incident, again, the NJC has set up a secret and discreet committee investigating justice. He is one of them.
Wow.
There are petitions against him. There are petitions against Justice Abdul Malik Joyce. It's all over the social media. You read it. So what we are saying is that Nigerian justices have descended so low as to the fact that they negotiate. They have their lawyers that negotiate on their behalf what they should be given. Now, how will justice
trading justice?
So, yes, selling justice.
Justice.
Yes.
To the highest bidder.
To the highest bidder. Now, how will Justice Oho, in his lifetime, be able to get $160,000? When you juxtapose it with the current exchange rate, what is $160,000? It's over 180 million naira. And how much is his salary? What are his perquisites? Office perquisites that will generate 160 million, so $160,000.
Let me have the last one on this so that we'll we'll lay this issue of the judiciary to rest. What is the implication of what is the role of the judiciary in the current state of our democracy now? Because people are complaining that we're not even practicing democracy. And largely it is because the judiciary, whenever is expected to have stepped in and correct the misbehaviors, the misconduct of unruly or errant politicians, they failed. What has been the role of the judiciary in bringing democracy to where it is today?
Well, our judiciary, with due respect, has largely been compromised. Largely. We had, at one point, I've forgotten his name, he's a senator who does not go to contest election. He will allow all the contests to be completed, and he will file a suit in court, and then he will win and become the senator. We have had in the judiciary somebody who was number 4 as a governorship candidate, number 4
in an election.
In an election, and becoming number 1. Now, these are some of our judiciary's strong feelings. So many aspects of our judiciary that the judiciary has now turned out to be, the campaign grounds. You don't have to campaign, you don't have to contest election. These are some of the things that some of these people do. They wait at the corner. Once everything is concluded, they will just now go to court, and the court will now give it to them.
Okay, let's leave that and come back to why we're here. PDP and its internal distemper, if I may use that word. So, recently, over the weekend, former Senate President Bukola Saraki, also former governor for Kwara State, came out and ensued for peace, that everybody should come together, let's have reconciliation. Now, is he making this statement from an altruistic position? And then some are even asking, where has he been all this while when this crisis festered, until it got to this point? So, Bukola Saraki's call for peace, is he being honest? Or is he playing to the gallery?
No, we see, with due respect to Bukola Saraki, he is not a neutral person in this matter. Even when he was appointed as the chairman of the Reconciliation Committee, his committee could not achieve anything. Wike gave 3 grounds that would make him to be able to reconcile. One was that the judgment that the petitions or the suits filed by governors to determine the state of emergency must be withdrawn. It's one of the conditions he gave. The issue of the 27 lawmakers, and of course some other sundry issues. None was resolved. The suits were not removed. So when Saraki came to deliver his committee report, there was no achievement made. And that is why another committee was set up, headed by Ambassador Hassan Adamu, Wakil in Adamawa, for reconciliation. And when they went to meet Wiki, one of the things he told them is that there is no reconciliation unless the PDP agrees that there will be no presidential candidate. We will not field any presidential candidate. Now, it was very sad to listen to somebody who claims to be PDP. It is only in Nigeria where you will have somebody who will be doing open anti-party and nothing will happen. Wiki, in the FCT elections, displays, in fact, he speaks anyhow because he knows nobody can sanction him. He has a presidential backing. The president is 100% behind him. I always say, and I will continue to say, that the president is the architect of the problem of the PDP. Because when he went to the National Assembly for the presentation of budget, he said about the PDP that it gives me great pleasure to see you in this array. And subsequently, he gave Wiki the opportunity to be speaking and be lambasting PDP activities. Because Wike speaks on a monthly basis much more than the Minister of Information. The Minister of Information hardly even speaks, except maybe after the Federal Executive Council meeting or some other issues. But Wike speaks every month. And that is from the budget of the FCT.
Holds court like a king.
Yes, he holds the court.
Media.
Yes.
He sits down like a king.
And then he will be directing the media.
Yeah.
He will not allow them to ask him questions. When they want to ask him, he says, wait. And then he will not tell you. He always dictates the pace. Well, we don't blame him. Say who pays the piper dictates the tune. Now, having said that, again, he was removed from TSA. He is the only minister who was removed from TSA. It means that the president has a responsibility for him. And one of the responsibility is to destabilize political parties. We have seen him with Julius Abure. Julius Abure of Labour Party. What concerns Wiki with Labour Party? But Julius Abure went to him. And when he was asked, he arrogantly said, we don't have to know what he's doing. It is when there is problem that he now spills out. For instance, when he was asked, in one national interview, he said nobody should ask him about whether Fubara is going to do second term or not. It's not our business. But when he saw that Fubara had gone to APC, he now went and started campaigning and started saying agreement is agreement. That is when he spilled the beans, because he was now being affected by the...
Let me ask you, Alaji, you've scattered around, let me ask you pointedly.
Yes.
You have a so-called PDP member in the FCT minister, Barrister Nyesom Wike, who is an APC appointee as FCT minister.
Yes.
Who is the head of the faction, in this entire PDP saga, is the head of one faction, The question is that, is he fighting a just cause? Does he have, just cause in this entire saga? Or, because some are saying Wike is a hero. So, in your opinion, is Wike a hero or an agent of destabilization appointed to destroy the PDP?
Well, you see, even his appointment was shrouded in secrecy within our party.
No, he said he got approval from the party.
No, he got the approval from the national chairman at that time.
Okay, just the national chairman?
Only the national chairman, not the NWC. The NWC were not even aware. In fact, it was while he was responding to certain questions that he said he spoke to the national chairman.
I remember.
And the national chairman gave him approval in writing.
Correct.
So if he got approval, not from the party, but from the national chairman, of course, represents the party, but it was a clandestine understanding. It was not a just exercise.
So it was not like the PDP of old under Obasanjo that appointed opposition figures to create a sort of unity government.
Yes, no. In his own case, he was appointed to destabilize us.
Oh, you believe that?
Is there have you ever heard that somebody will tell you that in River State there is no any other political? There is a rainbow coalition, and when you come out, you say you are PDP. Then you come to Abuja and you say PDP candidates should step down, the FCT candidates should step down, the Buhari candidates should step down for APC. Does that show that this man? And then he went further to even say it, that just go and vote and leave the rest to me. What is the rest that will be left to him?
Okay, so Governor Makinde alleged that they had a meeting with the president, and Wike openly, promised like an allegiance to the president that I will hold the PDP down for you.
Yes.
So is that what we're saying play now? So was Governor Wike correct? Was Governor Makinde, was he right?
You see, Makinde is not somebody who is known to be flippant or loquacious. He is a person, when he speaks, you will find truth in whatever he says. And he works according to his conviction. So when he says that, and Wike denied it, I believe Makinde more than I believe Wike, because Wike can deny anything. Makinde will accept. When Ayo Fayoshe came out to say that he collected 50 billion, he said no, he didn't collect 50 billion. He collected 30. And then published the account details. You know, that is accountability. Wike will not be able to publish that amount, that thing, and say I collected this amount. He will not be able to do it. So what I'm telling you is what Makinde did was heroism. Now, don't forget, Makinde went further to say that Tinubu said, Makinde said, but the person you are putting to take care of Oyo will not do a good job for you. He said, no, you are going to be the one to do it. And he said, no, I can't do it. I'm a PDP person. Now, that is to tell you that Tinubu had agreed, even though he said it was not Tinubu who made the suggestion, but tacitly, Tinubu has agreed with what Wike said. And that's why what is playing now. You know, why Wike is getting the presidential support. Anywhere we go, he boasts that he has won. Wike on his own accord can't do anything.
Let's nail this coffin finally on this Wike Makinde on this issue. The genesis of this the entire problem, in fact, of the PDP, in my thinking, correct me if I'm wrong, is the G5 that massively undermined the presidential campaigns of the PDP in 2023 elections.
Yes.
Was it a grave miscalculation on the part of Sheyi Makinde? Because I doubt if he would ever recover from that perception of, you know, working together with an individual of the kind of Wike.
Yes.
So do you agree with me, Alhaji Umar, that G5 is the genesis of this entire, you know, problem of the PDP and the failure of the party there, the hierarchy, to have come down heavily on these G5 governors, sanction them, if possibly, expel them? That's what has led us to where we're. What do you say?
Yes, I agree with you entirely that the G5 was partly responsible for our failure. But bringing Makinde in, I will tell you that Makinde joined the G5 in good faith.
Thinking they were fighting a just cause.
He thought they were fighting a just cause. He didn't know that he was helping somebody to fight his own battle. You know? So he will later realize that he was not fighting a just cause, but he was fighting a personal battle that has somebody in. Now, some of the people that were in the G5, most of them lost election. The governor, Ifeanyi Ugwanyi, lost senatorial election in his state. Ekpeazu lost election. Otom lost election in their state. And when it came to their collective interest, Wike only put himself forward and left the rest. And when he got the position, he was telling them that they should relax, that the president will do something. What is an ambassador to somebody who was a former governor? And you are giving him ambassador. You know, so the general idea was to fracture them and to continuously hold the leadership. And so when Makinde realized that the intentions were not noble and they were not genuine, he opted out and became a forget about the fact that they are shouting that because he was not given a minister. Whether he was given a minister or not, and he has a minister in the administration, whatever it is, if he discovers these things, Makinde will still have opted out, even allowing that the minister should be replaced. You know, so it is not about any minister or something.
Okay, so back to the NWC and the NWC crisis. Now that the BOT, because initially everybody thought, in fact, Alhaji Turaki, the defunct or former chairman, had said he was going to the Supreme Court, he was appealing, but then the BOT has said no, let's do reconciliation.
He's not a former chairman. We are still looking at him as a chairman.
No, but the court has said it's not the NWC.
No.
Alhaji, hold on, Alhaji.
Wait.
The court that produced the NWC, the convention that produced him, the court has removed the legs from under it.
You see, when there is a process,
yes,
you don't say somebody is no longer there. Now, I will give you an example. Yes, on Wiki, in his first election,
as Rivers State Governor.
As Rivers State Governor, he lost at the tribunal.
Yes, lost at the appeal.
But he was still the governor.
Yes.
He lost at the Court of Appeal.
Yes.
Yet he was still the governor. Then he won at the Supreme Court. And then substantively became the governor. So you don't remove somebody from a position merely because of court pronouncement until the final determination of the matter.
But my argument, Alhaji, you are right. You know, because that's the legal process.
Yes.
But the argument is that the BOT now has said we're not going on appeal to the Supreme Court.
Yes.
So what is the
No, the BOT didn't say so.
Okay.
The BOT said they have directed their lawyers to look at the matter.
Okay.
You know, and advise them accordingly.
Okay.
Meanwhile, they will pursue the other option.
Reconciliation. Now, let's do scenario. Now they want to do, they're pursuing reconciliation. What is the bargaining chip of the Turaki-led and the Wiki-led? What's he looking at? What's the outlook looking at? Like, what do you expect?
Well, we expect a robust engagement,
okay,
and we expect a give and take. You know, okay, you people take chairman, you people take secretary, you people take this, you people take that. This is what Wiki is. That is what is engineering Wiki to make statements ahead of time. That they are now in charge. So that when it comes to such discussions, he will now be telling Nigerians that they are the ones that should choose who is to be who and who is not to be who. And the window for appeal is 21 days. So our lawyers will have prepared their brief and everything. If reconciliation fails, then we'll proceed to the Supreme Court. And which means everybody will lose.
I'm sure PDP viewers, PDP members we actually will pray that does not happen. And then this leads me to this very, very important point now, Alhaji Sani. There were rumors or feelers. We are journalists, we have our sources. Yeah. You are a journalist yourself, so you know how we play the game.
Yes.
There were rumors that the PDP was a vehicle being primed, prepared for former president, Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, to ride on to contest 2027 presidential elections. And in fact, that the reason why, some of these destabilizing elements were hell-bent on making sure the PDP did not, do any primaries was to make sure that Goodluck Jonathan does not have any platform, any viable platform. So, as it is currently, confirm whether this rumor is true or false, confirm that first. And then if it is true, are you also doing everything to make sure that the PDP is ready? And will yes or Wiki and his group, would they allow, Goodluck Jonathan to emerge as candidate of PDP?
Well, it is the fundamental right of former President Goodluck Jonathan to seek to become president again because he has another 4-year term. Personally, I believe his candidature will assist resolve the crisis within the polity, because he is from the south, and if PDP gets it, he knows we don't even have to negotiate with him as to whether after he say no, it must go back to the north. It's just a direct reflection of the truth, because immediately he finishes his 4 years term, the thing will just automatically go back to the north. So he is a prime candidate for that position. Northerners are rooting for him, they like him. But the issue is whether anybody is priming him for that. This current, the Turaki-led NWC is very much, has always been saying it is a rebirth. There will no longer be impunity or imposition.
Imposition.
Yeah, so there will be primaries.
Yeah.
And if there are primaries and Jonathan loses, he has to give way to the winner. So it is not something that they may have their individual choices. We are all human beings. But if you have your individual choice, it doesn't say that, based on individual choice, you must, impose somebody. Then we are now going back to what we have said we were not going to do. So the issue that Goodluck Jonathan is being primed for that position is not true. Okay. It is not correct. it is merely the conjunctures of, if you remember at some point, anytime he speaks or the APC was always attacking him, believing that he was coming out to contest. And of course, this is what Wiki is trying to do, to stop anybody from contesting. And he may not achieve his aim, because time, there is still time. It is not about the lengthness of time. It is when people know you. If Jonathan is our candidate, people know him. He doesn't have to go and reintroduce himself to the society. So there's nothing.
Now, knowing Wike's role, I mean, pretty much from what we have said, we've agreed that he's been, he's playing a destabilizing role in the PDP. Now, does that not already tell the BOT members of the PDP that seeking reconciliation with this, faction, the Wike faction, is a dead end already? What do you think?
Well, we are not the first people to. The BOT is very considerate. The BOT is not looking at killing the PDP. Because we cannot go into 2027 election without candidates. Whereas we have so many candidates that can win governorship elections in certain states. And that is what Wike is trying to stop, so that we don't stage the apple cart. So in doing so, we need the PDP to be intact. And we need the PDP, to operate as a team. Now, he himself, he has two very important challenges that is making him to come out to do this thing.
Which are?
One, he wants Senator Anyanwu to contest under the PDP the governorship of Imo State, which is an off-cycle election, which comes up next year in November. Also, he has clearly stated that he does not want Fubara to go back. And Fubara has already a platform of APC. And he does not believe that Fubara will be jettisoned and will not be allowed to go for second term. And he doesn't want him to go for second term. So he needs a platform that is as strong as the APC in his own state to be able to dislodge Fubara. So he has also his personal reasons, his interest, why he's doing it. He's not doing it because he loves the party.
Yeah.
He does not love the party.
Brilliant. We need to do these next questions, quick fire.
Okay.
we're almost 1 hour.
Yeah.
So now, do you think the democratic practice currently in Nigeria, is it still democracy? Can we still call it democracy, or it has become something else? What do you think?
No, if you say we are practicing democracy, I will tell you no. Because the three instruments that are supposed to strengthen democracy have now been called temple of concurrence.
Which is
the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. Each one concurs with the other. So we don't have democracy. The judiciary will not tamper with the interests of the executive, which was not the case before. Obasanjo and Atiku. Obasanjo was president, and Atiku was his vice president. They have gone to court about 9 times. And in those 9 times, Atiku has defeated the president. It cannot happen this time. It cannot happen. The court will always find an excuse. Just look at the judgment of the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is not supposed to entertain any matter that has to do with local government election. There is a boundary. But the Supreme Court went ahead, a River State matter, to delve into local government election and to even, accept the judgment of lower courts, which is to tell you that they are willing to do anything, including even violating their law, to be able to deliver. I have not finished. Secondly, why I'm saying that, look at the National Assembly. In the issue of to ratify the state of emergency, the law clearly says that the House must dissolve into voting. It didn't say it should be voice vote. No, votes must be counted. But the two houses use voice vote because the House of Reps didn't even have the quorum to be able to do that. So they resorted to voice vote. The Senate could not have if there was a voting process, the Senate would have lost in the Senate. So how would you be able to say that democracy is being practiced the way it ought to be practiced?
Now, in the face of all of this, compromised judiciary, silenced voices of opposition, this, hollowing out opposition parties and all of that, what is the hope for Nigerians generally? And where is Nigeria headed as this?
You see, the opposition are not silent, but they have been forced to be silent. Why I say the opposition have been forced to be silent is that they have put problem in almost all the parties.
Set fire inside them.
Set fire inside them.
So they are busy putting out fires.
I will give you a latent example.
Quickly.
Yes. NMPP, as it is now, they have 3 chairmen. Three.
National
chairmen. 3 national chairmen. There is one who is a Hausaman who is representing Konkoso group. There is somebody called Beneventure who got a judgment in Federal High Court, Enugu, that he is the owner of the party. And then there is another person who is parading himself as the national chairman of the party. These were all planted by the ruling party. Again, Labour Party. At a point, Labour Party had 3 national chairmen. Nanade Usman, Lamidi Apapa, and Julius Abure. Now the Supreme Court has given it to Nanade Usman. But the litigation has now started again afresh. She has to go to Federal High Court to be able to win this case. But still they are appealing against the Federal High Court ruling again. So it's a cycle of this. So it is not an issue of the opposition. It's because the government is against an opposition. But we have one consolation.
Which is?
The Nigerian people.
Okay.
People vote and not people who defect or people who get sentiments of the courts. No, it is the people that vote. So we are hoping, just like it happened in several states, where a sitting governor was upstaged by somebody, that the people will still vote along that line.
What state was that?
Several states. In Fintiri defeated a sitting governor.
Yeah.
In Adamawa. Bala Mohammed defeated a sitting governor. Adeleke defeated a sitting governor. The governor Dauda Lawal of Zamfara defeated a sitting governor.
But many would argue that was where, some level of, transparent elections took place. They allowed the people's, votes to count. Yeah. Now, if you take the issue of poverty, mass poverty, and the weaponization of such poverty, because when election comes, what you politicians will do is to bring out money to buy votes. Vote buying is now become a phenomenon.
Yes.
It's become a standard feature of our democratic practice.
Yes.
Can you still count on the people to vote according to their conscience, or collect 20,000 or 50,000 on the day of election and vote for the ruling party?
Well, you see, I will speak for the area I come from, which is the north. People collect money. They are even before now.
Yes.
During IBB, during the option A4.
Yeah.
I remember that people used to put leaves on their head that I'm for sale. When you put a leaf on your head, I'm for sale. Come and buy me. I'm a voter. It's option A4. This has been a practice within the Nigerian system. But has it always worked? No, it has not always worked. Because people have been buying votes. If it works, a sitting governor who has enormous resources to buy everybody, cannot be defeated by somebody coming from the outside. It doesn't work all the time. Now, even I can tell you, when people are properly mobilized, they will reject everything you give them. I'll give you one example, one critical example. During our time, as part of our efforts to alleviate poverty, we sent 100 trailers of rice to Kano. It was returned because people were mobilized and told that anybody who eats that rice is good luck rice, is going to die. So nobody collected the rice. It was returned. Now that is that's the spirit of proper mobilization.
There was no hunger in Nigeria then.
There was hunger, but people were nobody wants to die.
There was no hunger in Nigeria then. No. That was 2014, 2015. Imagine hunger now. 11 years ago.
What do we want to live with? To live with hunger, or you want to live? You want to collect something and eat and die? Because they were mobilized, they campaigned into, and they got the message. Now, what I'm trying to tell you is that vote buying has become the system. But you see, in elections that are off cycle, it can effectively work. But in an election that is general election, you can't buy everybody. People here and there. So it becomes, and people, there is one look in local parlance, in what we call Jikimagayi in Hausa language. What is Jikimagayi? Now your body will tell you whether you enjoy or you are suffering. Whether the 4,000 or the spaghetti that you will get, or the small Milo that they will package and give you, it is able to sustain you for 4 years.
Like I said, let's run quickly. So, with a compromised electoral system,
yes,
mass discontent all over the place, people are discontent and all of that,
yes,
suppressed populace, uncontrolled killings, mass killings everywhere.
Yes.
What do you see Nigeria walking into as we go towards 2027? What are we walking into? Are we walking into a minefield, or what exactly?
You see, those things you have mentioned are not even the issues.
Okay.
They are not the only issues.
What are the issues?
They are not even the issues. Insecurity, I agree with you, is on the top.
Yeah.
Because the spate of killings now is beyond comprehension.
Absolutely.
Now look at the Nigerian army itself. How many people were massacred?
And losing members.
Yes, they are losing members. And the Nigerian army is not much in terms of combat ready soldiers. And then we are losing a lot of members. In fact, I saw a video where a soldier was crying, from Maiduguri, where he's crying. He's saying they should pray for them, that they may be killed any moment. Now, that is to tell you the number of, if the soldiers who are supposed to defend our sovereignty and integrity are being killed, it means the thing is inching towards us. So we have to pray for our soldiers. Now, that's the issue of the insecurity. But aside from that, it is the justice of the rulership of the country. When appointments are skewed towards a particular ethnic group, it also brings a lot of discontent. It is a common knowledge that this is what is happening. But it is not the ethnic group that will be in charge of everything. I agree that INEC chairman is a Yoruba man from Okun in Kogi State. The chief of army staff is is a Yoruba person, and so forth and so on. All the people that will supervise the election, the IGP is a Yoruba man, the DSS is a Yoruba man, and so forth. But nevertheless, when people want to revolt against the system, these people can't stop it. They are a minority in the context of
because they're just solitary individuals.
Yes, they are minority in this context, in the larger picture. What interests people more is your ability to recognize people from other places that can also do the work and give it to them. Now, if you take somebody that the people think this man does not like us, he does not give our people appointment. And that is very fundamental, in this dispensation. Again, the poverty and hunger, the disparity in the distribution of resources. Even where contracts are supposed to be awarded, I can tell you without fear of any contradiction that half of the resources of Nigeria is being spent in Lagos. If you take the coastal road, for instance, which is 15 trillion, you take the super highway, which is about 2.8 trillion. You take the Fourth Mainland Bridge, which is about 3.8 trillion. You take the renovation of the Third Mainland Bridge, which is about 3.6 trillion. Which no, 712 billion. Look at the CCTV monitoring center, 40 billion. All resources are being channeled to Lagos.
Alhaji, let's make room. But some would argue with you on nepotism and this cronyism that President Buhari did 8 years and he did worse than President Tinubu. So President Tinubu is just trying to catch up with his predecessor. Now, but don't respond to that because of time.
No, I have to respond.
Okay, yes. One minute.
Yes, 1 minute. Does one bad turn deserve another?
Well, he didn't mince words when he said he was going to continue the legacy of President Buhari.
No, it is not about legacy.
Yes.
What he ought to do is not to continue the legacy of President Buhari, is to build on a justice system that everybody will feel, carried along. If Buhari does a wrong thing, does he want to continue along that line?
On behalf of all the Yoruba people, let me say that it is not the Yoruba government that President Tinubu is running. He's running a city boy government from Lagos. So they just needed to put that out. Now, when governors decamp, senators, when they decamp to the APC,
yes,
the president's men will say it is superior strategy. At what point does superior strategy come to an end and it is deliberate sabotage?
There is nothing like a superior strategy. It is a way to kill multi-party democracy. When you talk about superior strategy, because you are giving them money, there are allegations of people being given money. If we don't even know it, at least the Zamfara governor, before he came to APC, has said so. He said he is aware that certain states are even being given, state governors are even being given 500 billion, but he was never given anything. Now he has come to get his own 500 billion.
500 billion.
500 billion. He has come to get his 500 billion. Now that is to tell you that is not superior strategy. That is wasting of resources that belongs to the federal government, to Nigerians. That 500 billion would have created quite a number of schools, quite a number of roads renovated, and so many things would have been done with that 500 billion. But it's given to a governor to lure him into a political dynasty.
Now, 2027 election, is President Tinubu making it? With everything we've said so far, is it already concluded? Is it won and lost already, even before one single vote?
What he is working towards is not an election. He's working towards a coronation. He wants to be coronated as the president and commander-in-chief, knowing fully well that in a free and fair contest, if he gathers the whole governors and
that was actually the next question. That in a free, fair, credible election, can President Tinubu actually win?
He cannot win. Don't forget that he came with 36% approval rating, and he was voted by less than 10% of the voters in Nigeria in 2023. So, and his popularity rating, as it is now, is low. Even if I have not done any scientific research to be able to establish it, but the pulse of the nation will tell you how the people perceive the administration. And his approval rating is very low. And so if an election that is free and fair is conducted, I can assure you that Tinubu cannot win that election.
Okay, we need to ask you this one before we round up. Some opposition figures have been arrested and prosecuted for sundry crimes. Malami, former Attorney General, Abubakar Malami. He's been tried for corruption. Former governor of Kaduna State, Nasir El-Rufai, not just corruption charges, even state, security, borderline security issues, wiretapping and all of that, cyber crimes and all of that. So is this purely a case of suppressing opposition voices, or there are genuine cases of crime?
Even if there are grounds for such,
Yes.
the timing was very wrong, because this is an election period. Within an election period, you begin to capture
but did you leave somebody who has allegedly committed a crime?
Well,
because it's election period.
Yes, no, even if
When you don't have
now Malami left this thing, was no longer this attorney that he has stolen money. No, it means that the essence of catching him this year is to put him behind bars, to stop him from funding his own political party, because he has joined an opposition party. If he had remained in APC, nothing would have happened to him. But since he has moved to an opposition party and they believe he has, quite a number of watches that he can deploy, so let them put him behind bars. Now, Nasir El-Rufai has been a vocal critic of this administration. So when he was arrested, it was expected that he would be arrested. But his arrest will not stop him from talking, because he will naturally be out of. They cannot continue to detain him forever, and they cannot, kill his spirit. His spirit is still there. What he wants to do, he wants to do. He felt shortchanged, and he is using his own political influence to also undermine the government.
Now, as Nigerians prepare to go, to the 2027 polls, with insecurity, hunger, deprivation, just general discontent across the land. If the polls do not go to the wishes of majority of Nigerians, what do we expect? Explosion, implosion, revolution? What do you expect?
Well, Nigerians are very patient people.
Is that not what has brought us to where we are?
Yes.
Tolerating all sorts of bad behaviors.
Yes. Nigerians are, but there is a limit.
Okay.
They tolerate people they love very much. But I don't think Tinubu's government has that benefit of being loved by Nigerians. Now, when Buhari was committing so many wrong things, Nigerians were the ones providing excuse for him. We were the ones in the opposition who were criticizing him, but they will provide excuse and say, leave him. He will not steal our money. He will do this. He will do that. He will do that. And at the end of the day, when he couldn't do anything and there was no visible achievement that you can say is traceable to Buhari, Nigerians, even the North that supported him, they were disappointed. I can remember the North left him the day Bello Turji arrested a vehicle on his way to Sokoto and burned all the people, including a pregnant woman, inside the bus. And they not said, no, this man, he can't do it. And so the North said he is incompetent. And we have always been shouting he's incompetent. We are not saying because we are Northerners we are supporting evil or we are supporting rubbish. Buhari was highly incompetent. We now came to discover that even when he was a military president, it was the effect of Idiagbon that was making the government very popular. So we felt he had missed Idiagbon, because if Idiagbon were around, he would have been his chief of staff. And if he was his chief of staff, he would have been guiding how he's doing things. But unfortunately, he lacked a companion that will help him to drive the narrative properly. When he was asked, why are you not employing people from other areas? He said, I've given them minister. This is something that is constitutional. Whether you like it or not, you must give them. You don't have, what we are saying is those ones that are discretionary, that you can use your sense to say, okay, let me give it to you. You are giving it to your people. The difference between Tinubu's style, although I understand the homogeneity of Yoruba tribe, is that Buhari distributes it in the north, not to his own native places. He gives it to North Central, he gives it to Northeast, he gives it to Northwest. Everybody is getting in the north. But Tinubu's own is concentrated, like you rightly said, it's Lagos Boys Association of Nigeria.